Hey, everybody, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. I got my T-Wolf shirt. So I had my birthday weekend this past weekend. I got a T-Wolf shirt for my wife for my birthday. Super excited to put it on, but then we're here. And so we got to talk about this. We have to talk about this. How many fans are going to keep wearing the shirt? How many fans are going to burn the shirt? How many fans are ready to move on to the Minnesota Vikings? But here's the question we're going to talk about today. Does Karl-Anthony Towns need to go somewhere else for Anthony Edwards to win? Or is it Rudy Gobert and Anthony Edwards needs help? There's a lot to discuss, but is this the end of the Timberwolves? Are they going to get swept, or can they push this to Game 7? We'll talk about all that and much more coming up next on the Ron Johnson Show.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. Now the Ron Johnson Show. On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. He's played with them, hung out with them, and grown up with all the big names in Minnesota sports. They're hanging out with Ron Johnson. It's the Ron Johnson Show on the Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. And it starts now.
Hey, everybody, it's Ron Johnson, and it's a rainy Tuesday in Minnesota. I don't know where you're listening from, but I want to thank all those that continue to like, share, download, listen. Please interact with us on YouTube. Leave comments on social media as well. We want to know what you guys think, because the Timberwolves, we know that's the big story right now in the state of Minnesota. It's national as well, so we're going to talk about some of the national comments being made about the Timberwolves because it feels like everybody's just starting to figure out what this Timberwolves team is. They've been this team, but now that everybody else has seen them on a national stage, everybody's questioning the setup, the makeup, and the attitude of the Minnesota Timberwolves. We'll discuss all of that, as well as we got a daily 3 coming up today. There's 3 questions, about 3 minutes each today. And then we're going to really just dive into the Timberwolves. But we want everybody to know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bet with any winning $5 bet. Normally, I give you guys a winning $5 bet, and I hate to say it, I feel like just bet against the Timberwolves in one of these games coming up. You're going to win one of those, because I think the next 4 games, it might be done. But you know what? We've seen stranger things happen. We know that when teams go up 3-0, we'll talk about that on the show. I got some stats for you there, but that's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. Well, as I bring my producer to the show, Sam Ekstrom, my co-host, my partner in crime, we're going to break down what's going on with the Timberwolves and what's not going on with the Timberwolves. They're on the brink of elimination, Sam. And as I alluded to the stat, I don't know if you saw this, because this happened in the East. This came up in the East, so they had to talk about this. Teams that are up 3-0 are 157-0 or something like that in playoff situations of advancing to the next round. And so it just doesn't look good being up 3-0. We know 3-1. There's been the comeback of the Cavs and LeBron.
Yes.
But I've never seen a 3-0. We haven't seen that one yet. But if the Timberwolves can get to 3-1, maybe they can get to 3-2. Maybe they can make the Mavs question themselves and get to 3-3, and then they come back home because they are the host, even though the Mavs are taking the hosting away from them, because they can end this in Dallas, which means that's a long flight back to Minnesota. That's a long flight, realizing when I get back, season's over. That's a long flight to just really look at each other and say, you know what? I'm rich. I might get my own flight back. Forget, I don't even want to be here with y'all. I'm staying in Dallas for more days. I'm going to hang out in Dallas in a hotel. I can afford a hotel room for a couple of nights. Forget y'all. I don't want to go back. It could be a lot, because we know this is the time where teams either come together, because I've seen this too. People say this is not the end for the Timberwolves. Some people are saying this could be the journey. When you talk about Michael Jordan and how he had to ascend into what he became, how he had to go through the getting beat up, how he had to go through losing to the Pistons and losing to the Celtics and getting absolutely crushed by the Knicks. And then we saw Michael Jordan take off. And then we saw the shot against Cleveland when he did the fist pump. We saw the shot against Brian Russell for Utah. We saw the dunk on the Knicks. We saw the Pistons. He dismantled the Pistons by himself to the point where we want to shake his hand. And so we've seen that. And so they're saying Anthony Edwards at 22 years old, don't act like this is the end. This is just a part of the story. This is a part of his origin story to maybe 4 or 5 years from now, we're talking about two-peat maybe. Who knows? But we can look back, or maybe just get one championship, or just go to the championship once. But we can talk about this was part of the journey for him to understand I have to prepare my body, because some people are saying it feels like he looks tired because he's played too long. He's not used to playing this deep into the season, which is true. I mean, we're what, June? We're headed to June.
Yeah.
And he's normally done what in April, like,
right.
And so that's what they're saying. Like, they're not used to being this deep into the play of the playoffs, and your body starts to wear you. So maybe that's part of it, because we knew Jordan. I don't know if you remember that story, Sam, of Jordan working out and preparing to get beat up and doing hardcore heels and running in the sun in the sauna suit to just get his body bulking up, getting in the weight room, getting stronger so he can take the physicality, which we know Anthony Edwards doesn't have to worry about that side of it. But maybe his is the conditioning side of it. Maybe it is running some hills. Maybe it is running alongside of a car like Rocky and Apollo and Creed. There's a lot to be said to this, but at the end of the day, Sam, it might be over. What are your thoughts on this at 3-0? Do you think there's any chance the Timberwolves can come back?
Boy, I mean, the history would suggest no, right? I'm hanging my hat on Boston last year, though. Boston came back from 3-0. They made it 3-3. I would take that. I, in particular, would like them to get to Game 5, because I with my brother-in-law, we said, let's get tickets to a game. Let's go deeper in the series. Let's get Game 5 tickets. Surely they'll be playing. I'd love to go to the game, but I don't think the Wolves are going to make this comeback. The gas tank is on empty. Dallas's closers are just too good right now. Dallas is so in sync. It would have to be such a dramatic and sudden turnaround for Cat to suddenly come alive, for Ant to suddenly come alive and rattle off 4 in a row. So I'm not going to make any grand proclamations that the Wolves do this. But Ron, isn't it interesting how the further you get in the playoffs, how the tension just ratchets up and the scrutiny ratchets up, right? Like just a few weeks ago, we were talking about Ant is Michael Jordan. Cat is the perfect running mate for Ant. Rudy is the most valuable player on this Wolves team for his defense. And it's like 3 games against Dallas, and it's all shot. It's all gone. It's all out the window. Suddenly, Cat can't win in the playoffs. Rudy can't be on the floor in the playoffs. Ant doesn't have it yet. He doesn't have that it factor. It's all the narratives shift just in 3 games because you couldn't win in the final couple minutes of the fourth quarter. It's crazy how the magnifying glass is just laser focused on every move, every player, and their legacies hinge on all of these outcomes. It's wild, and we've never been a part of this with the Wolves. So it's all part of that journey, like you said, but also can't take for granted that you're going to get here again in the future. Look at all the teams like Phoenix, Ron. Like Phoenix was in the finals a few years ago. They haven't been even close, right? The Bucks won a championship. They haven't gotten close again. The Raptors won a championship. Now they're one of the worst in the NBA. So it changes fast, and it's a shame that the Wolves are this close and are likely going to bow out before the finals.
And here's some things. I'm gonna just like when I love to do this. This is for the fans that don't know me. Ron Johnson here. I love to just jump on to Twitter, and you know that, and just give you random tweets. And today's randomness is going to come from Karl-Anthony Towns. I just put in Karl-Anthony Towns in the search, Sam. And of course, there's recent stuff. There's stuff all of yesterday. But here's a lot of the takes about Karl-Anthony Towns, and each one we'll kind of discuss. Here's one that I really want to hit on, Sam, because I've said this before. Here's the quote. Cat, you are the one with the mismatch this round. You refuse to go to the post. See, if you go to the post, it forces them to go bigger. You have to sacrifice what you want to do. That's Gilbert Arenas on Karl-Anthony Towns in this series. Now, Sam, I've said this before. At his size, his strength, his body type, I've said put them into foul trouble, force them to do something they don't want to do. Cat, on the other hand, is doing what they want him to do. Staying out wide where a smaller guy can guard him. Anybody, I can guard Karl-Anthony Towns at the top of the key on the 3. Not going to say I can block his shot, but I can get in his space so that it doesn't feel like a comfortable shot. And I can run at him to make him maybe rush it and speed up the way he wants to shoot it. Whereas we know Nas is a quick trigger guy. Mike Conley's a trick trigger guy. Anthony Edwards is a jump high guy. Karl doesn't jump when he shoots his three. So it's kind of like he has to get it up and then shoot it. Whereas like slow-mo, ton of time to take the three. Anybody can run at him and block that. So when you hear Gilbert Arenas say that, and again, Gilbert Arenas, wasn't one of those guys that went to the NBA finals a bunch of times and knows how to, but he does bring up a good point there, Sam, when you talk about just pure basketball, looking at why don't you take advantage of the mismatch? What are your thoughts on that, Sam? Because we've heard Calipari say that when he came to Kentucky, he wanted to be a shooter. And he's like, man, I will make you a first round pick if you just listen to me and put your back to the basket. He did that. He became a first round pick. He gets to the NBA. He wants to go back to being the best big man 3-point shooter. What are your thoughts on that? I get it because Jokic does both. Jokic can shoot, and then he will also dominate in the post and take the bigger guys down, whereas Karl doesn't do that.
Right. Karl used to be much more of a post-up player, and I wonder if some of this is probably coaching that, hey, if Rudy's on the floor, we don't want you in the post-up situation. It clogs the spacing. But I would much rather have Karl posting up because I think he's actually got a nice little hook shot in the lane, kind of Jokic-like, that he doesn't use. Karl likes to get to the paint by driving, and I don't think that's always effective. He barrels in. Sometimes he dribbles in traffic, loses the ball. Offensive fouls, he commits a lot of. He puts up some wild shots when he's out of control. I think the post-ups, he's actually much more controlled. Mm-hmm. He's got kind of a nice feathery touch. And if he has a mismatch, there was a game, was it Denver or was it earlier in the Mavs series where there were a handful of plays where they got him the mismatch. He knew exactly what to do and he executed. And they haven't done that well at all. He's been hunting a lot of deep threes, I think trying to get in a rhythm, and it hasn't been working. He's got the worst 3-point field goal percentage of anyone in conference finals history, I think the stat was. It's ugly. It's ugly right now. The post-up game feels like a way for him to kind of rebuild some confidence, right, Ron? Like if the threes aren't working right now, and Barkley's been preaching this too, and I know it's not modern NBA to kind of go from shooting threes to shooting twos, but just to build up, see the ball go in the basket. Like that's what he needs right now is just a couple confidence building shots, and the post-up game could help with that.
And when you look at Karl-Anthony Towns, and people are saying like the greatest shooting big man, because now there's jokes about this. It said let's compare pull-up threes this season. Victor Wembanyama, 63 for 168, 3-pointers, 37.5%. Karl-Anthony Towns will pull up threes this season, 13 for 42. That's 31%. So again, this is pull up though. Just dribbling up, pulling up, taking a three, not in play and whatever, blah blah. But Victor Wembanyama has him beat there. And so, to make these claims, I take 1,500 shots a day and all this stuff he's doing, it just feels like focus on basketball. Stop worrying about what people think of you or what people are saying about you. I think Shaq said that, like when he told Karl-Anthony Towns that, stop trying to tell us what you are and just be what you are. Like, be what you are and then let us decide. Like, you telling us is making it worse, because then people are bringing it up. And here's another one that somebody else brought up. Karl-Anthony Towns in the last 3 games against the Mavs has not been anything close to magnificent. When you look at his stat line, when you look at what is his averages, the 15 points, 5 for 54, 3 for 22 and 3-point percentage. Like, Sam, that's not a great night for anybody. And Karl-Anthony Towns, another one, somebody said this was a day ago, NBA Central with the stats, 7 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 14 turnovers, Sam, 14. And so you can't win. You're hurting your team by not doing, and I get it. Gilbert Arenas is saying this, some other people are saying this, but being able to put your back to the basket, being able to go down and do it. Here's another, Karl-Anthony Towns versus the Mavs. Game 1, 6 for 20. Game 2, 4 for 16. Game 3, 5 for 18. Sam, so here's the question that was posed, and we'll talk a little bit about this more in the second segment as well. But Stephen A. Smith tried to say Anthony Edwards is tired because he's focusing on defense too much. Like, he's getting into the media. I'm gonna shut Kyrie down. He's talking about I'm gonna shut Kyrie down. One, you're showing your hand. So if I know that as a coach, I'm telling Kyrie, sacrifice your conditioning a little bit and run around. Get this guy tired. We can make him tired. By the fourth quarter, he has nothing left, and we're seeing that. He's deferring and passing the ball. He has no legs at the end of these games. When you look at Karl-Anthony Towns, the other thing that was brought up was, does Anthony Edwards need somebody other than Karl-Anthony Towns as a duo? Because they're saying Kyrie and Luka. Like Kyrie for years, they said, sabotage the big threes and the big twos he was a part of. And now, he's grown. He said he's learned. He said he had to find himself and blah, blah. And now him and Luka are blossoming. Is this something that Anthony Edwards maybe needs to look into? That him and Karl-Anthony Towns can't be a duo because they try to get a trio with Gobert. Gobert is not giving you anything offensively. Defensively, yeah. But is there somebody else then that you can maybe say, defensively, we can find somebody else other than Rudy Gobert, and we might not need him because we have some other guys. But kind of like the Warriors, do we need to build a small ball team around Anthony Edwards? Those are some of the questions just pop into my head. I know reactionary to the loss. If they were up 3-0, we wouldn't even be having these conversations. If it was even 2-1, if it was even 1-2, I don't think we'd be having these conversations because they have a chance to tie it up tonight, and we'd all still be, the Wolves can still win this in 6. They can get one more in Dallas. They can win one at home. They can go to Dallas and end it and just be done with this. Gonna be tired for sure because the Celtics get to rest now. But I think the Mavs are like, we're gonna get the rest too. And maybe as a fandom, we're gonna get a series sooner than we thought. Not the series that we wanted. I don't even know how much, honestly, I don't even know how much I'm gonna watch the finals with the Mavs Celtics, if that's what it is. If it's on, it's on, but I'm not making it like appointment TV as I would with the Timberwolves. I'm not going to go into the referees. I don't think anything is a conspiracy in this. This is just, it is what it is. You're down 3-0. You can't say the refs did anything to you. Literally. Like, I know we've said that. We can't say that anymore. But Sam, we'll talk about those couple questions because if they're on the brink of elimination, looking at Cat in the playoffs, looking at Gobert and what's his name, Anthony Edwards, where do they go from here is kind of the next, I guess, steps that we have to talk about the way everybody's bringing it up.
Yeah. Should we get to that after our first break?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Let's talk about FanDuel. Then we'll talk a little bit about the Wolves' future coming up. All right, for those of you that have a little faith, the Minnesota Timberwolves to win the NBA championship right now, plus 4,100. Put $10 on the Wolves, bring home $410 if they win the title. If they come back from 0-3, like the Boston Red Sox of yore, you could be rich. So that's your opportunity. FanDuel, FanDuel.com/lockedon. Lots of ways to wager on the NBA playoffs, also the NHL playoffs and their conference finals, and Major League Baseball, of course. I like golf. I like putting a couple bucks down on golf tournaments. Hey, the French Open is happening right now as well. All those options available to you at FanDuel. And we've been telling you about the promotion. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. $150 to put on the spreads, the money lines, the player props, and the futures. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every playoff shot count. You hear that, Cat? Make every shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
Well, Sam, elimination is all but imminent, but we're not sure. Like, again, this is the way they could possibly pull it off. And what a lot of people are trying to throw out there is Anthony Edwards, and I've said this over and over again, it's probably not going to happen. Like, at this point, I don't know if they can change it up. We'll see tonight. Maybe Chris Finch is listening to the podcast this morning, and he's like, you know what? Ron's right. Maybe I do need to get Anthony Edwards off Kyrie. Because here's the thing, I've always said this. You can't put your best offensive player on their best offensive player. You got to find a way around that. I don't know if it's putting him on Kyrie and saying, hey, I need you to just go to work. And you start with Anthony Edwards. I'm not saying take Mike Conley out, but maybe bring Mike Conley off the bench and just see how it goes. Like, you got to switch it up. But if you don't take Mike Conley out, because Mike Conley can guard, one of their other guys. He can guard a 3. And you maybe put him on Luka. I mean, Luka's not moving fast. Like, he said that. He said, I'm not moving fast, but I'm moving faster than Gobert. You may put him on Luka. Just try something. And then it's like throwing spaghetti up against the wall. And then you go Karl-Anthony Towns, and then you go Jay McDaniels. And you play a small ball type of look. You take Rudy Gobert off, maybe bring him off the bench. And he's just subbing in for Cat when you got the Lively and the what is it? How do you say his name? Gafford. Sorry, I was thinking of Jonathan Grenard. Gafford. when you switch those two, then you switch Gobert. Like, you just switch it up because, like you're saying, Sam, you brought this up before, that they're not defending the alley-oop well with Gobert. So then what is the purpose? He's not giving you points. Every time he drives, even if he has Luka on him, you saw that play, he gets ripped. Like, he can't dribble.
Mm-mm.
Switch it up. But that's just my thought on this. But Sam, when they're going into the brink of elimination, do you stick to what you've been doing, or do you think they should switch it up?
Yeah, I mean, the Wolves have been so adamant that they can't make us play small. We're going to play big. Like, that's our philosophy. But when push comes to shove, I think you got to get desperate, and you got to give Dallas something that they haven't seen as much of, just to change up the mojo, force them to adjust to you. I try to be careful not to rip Gobert too much, because his on-off numbers are still really good. Like, his plus minus is still very strong. Game 2, it was drastic how much better they were with him on the floor because of his defense. But it is hard when he's out there. I think the Wolves dried up offensively the last 4 minutes of Game 3 because Gobert was out there, and it seemed to clog the floor a bit. What do you think about Kyle Anderson? Giving Kyle Anderson more minutes. He's had
I know
really
you
good,
like slow-mo.
He's had a really good
slow-mo
series, Ron, on both ends of the floor. And if you've got slow-mo, you have a viable option to guard Luka.
True.
Jaden can guard Kyrie then, and then you can hide Edwards on Derrick Jones Jr. and then allow him a chance to rest. So I think the trickle down actually works there if slow-mo's on the floor. And he's been good. Like, you can't say he hasn't been pretty good this series. I think he's been one of their best bench pieces on both ends, but that's just me. I know I'm a slow-mo guy.
So, yes, you are a slow-mo guy, Sam. We've all established that. I will say you do bring up a great point, because he did guard Jokic a little bit, and he had the Joker kind of not stymied, but he did get in the way enough. And Luka is not bigger than Joker. So Kyle Anderson is about, what is Kyle Anderson, 6'7"? So Kyle Anderson gives you the length to defend the shot. He can speed up if he needs to defensively. Like, I think his offensive mind is just slow, but defensively he moves pretty well. So looking at that, I would say maybe go that route. But then are you saying start Kyle Anderson and sit Gobert?
No, but I think you give him, I mean, he's probably played about, between 12 and 18 minutes every game. Maybe consider upping his minutes, giving him like 20, 24 minutes.
Because here's the thing is, you got Kyrie and Luka. And so in my suggestion, I'm saying put Naw on Kyrie. We're saying put Kyle Anderson on Luka. Like, yeah, it's tough. They're a tough team to handle. I mean, because it felt like that's the team we wanted, to be honest. I think everybody, when Dallas beat the Thunder, everybody's like, oh, we get to host it. We're hosting and we're the guys now. And I honestly would have rather them been the underdog still to the Thunder. I mean, and then now they really are the underdogs to the Mavs, but I would have rather them started off with the mindset of, we got to go on the road to start this, because I feel like every time they went on the road to start it, they just had it together. Like they were a band of brothers. They went there, they defended they defended each other. They went after teams. But yeah, I don't know. Kyle Anderson so there's the thing about Mike Nori. He's the way that the subs have to happen then, and you're right, maybe that does need to happen, is the minute he feels like it's getting out of hand, or the minute he feels like Luka's heating up, then maybe call the timeout, switch it up, get Kyle Anderson on him, and then you sacrifice a little bit there. I would say you still can put Naw, because you could go Naw on Kyrie, Kyle Anderson on Luka, Anthony Edwards in the game, but now he's on somebody else. He's on one of their threes, because he can guard anybody, I feel like, other than the center, but he can guard their three. And now Anthony Edwards can not waste so much energy. Now, again, you still got to worry about the pick and them trying to get the switch on Anthony Edwards on him and just try to tire him out, because that's what it feels like. They're not really setting picks to get Anthony Edwards off of the guy. It's almost like they're just setting, like, I don't want to call them like fake picks, but they're just setting like movement screens to get him to move a little bit, to make him move his feet and run around more than he normally has to. And it fell right into him, because every third, fourth quarter, I don't know if you're listening to the announcers even, everybody's pointing that out, that Anthony Edwards looks tired, like towards the end of the games. He's not attacking. Like Barkley said it, that, he's not like he's hunting for a shot towards the ends of games. He's deferring, he's passing, he's walking up the court. He just looks tired. Like, he doesn't look like the same guy. And that's why I tweeted originally, I thought he was hurt. Like, that first series where they didn't pass the ball in and they had to waste a timeout, like he didn't look good. He looked tired already at the start. And maybe he was. Maybe, I mean, this is a long season. And maybe the mental toll, the physical toll has just been a lot. But yeah, Sam, I don't know. I don't know if there's an answer for this, but let's go to the question about Karl-Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
Does Anthony Edwards need somebody else? Because that's the question a lot of people are posing. Does he need somebody else? Do they need to go find, and I don't even know who, because you can't put him with James Harden. You can't put him with, well, you could go Kevin Durant. Like, do you trade Kevin Durant for Karl-Anthony Towns to the Suns? Because the Suns, it looks like they want to move on, and they were talking about like a Bronny possible draft to get LeBron to Phoenix, and then having LeBron and KD be teammates there with Devin Booker. I'm like, that's a lot, but people are willing to do anything now at this point to win more championships. But would you do that? Would you say, you know what? Let's I mean, the Timberwolves could even draft Bronny. Let's go draft Bronny. Like, we got everything we need. Let's drive Bronny so LeBron is enticed to want to just come and be a part of the Timberwolves. I don't know if that helps Anthony Edwards, but I just wonder, like, well, that probably would help Anthony Edwards. But do you think there's something or somebody that they need to do other than Cat?
It's a great question. The Phoenix one's interesting just because Cat and Booker are buddies from
they've been talking about trying to play together before, yeah.
And Durant, that's like Cat, or that's Ant's idol, and Durant loves Ant. So just from a culture fit, maybe that makes some sense. But also be very careful what you wish for, because right now Cat and Ant actually I think they complement each other pretty well. Number one, they like each other. I don't think there's a lot of tension about who's the alpha here. Cat is pretty comfortable in his role. They seem to really enjoy being around each other. Ant is more of a wing. Cat is a big. Cat helps spread the floor and allow Ant those driving lanes. Like, there's a lot about their games that sort of fit together. Be very careful trying to switch Cat for anyone else that might come in and want, they might want the ball late in the game. If it's Kevin Durant, how are you going to decide who's going to shoot? So I think it's a tough ask to say, well, we were the number 3 seed in the West. We won 56 games. We won 2 playoff series. Oh, but Cat, suddenly you're not good enough. Like, you can't be overly reactionary based on 3 games that came down to the wire and you lost. I think that might be a little too knee-jerk based on all the good that you did this year. That still happened. It's not erased just because the way this series has gone. This is a small sample size. I would say run it back. I would run it back with this group and try again next year and try to take that next step. That would just be me. What do you think?
I mean, you know me, Sam. I've been saying this all season. Like, I'd never really liked the big 3. I think I've said it for the whole season, just about. Even when they were number 1, I always said I feel like Anthony Edwards would do better with a guy like, Kevin Durant. Like, I just feel like he needs another guy. Like, because there's one thing to spread the floor out, but there's another thing to spread the floor out and then attack. Like, Joker can spread the floor out and then he attacks. Like, he doesn't need somebody like Karl-Anthony Towns. Again, I don't know if he doesn't realize, because I know some people, like, it's a joke, but it's almost kind of serious too. Like, I don't know if you ever heard the phenomenon when people look in the mirror, they don't see what everybody else sees. Like, some people look in the mirror and they might be 5'5", but they see a person that's 6 feet tall because they, they're like a lion, and it's the cat. It's a picture of a cat. It's a big, like, saying too, not big, but it's one of those inspirational posters. It's a cat looking in a no pun intended, but it's a kitty cat looking into a mirror, and then he sees a lion, and it's saying, like, basically it's saying, like, everybody has a lion inside of them. But then there's another one, vice versa, with like Tom and Jerry, the joke. I don't know if you've ever seen Tom and Jerry, Sam. I know you don't watch a lot of movies, but I know that was a TV show, a cartoon.
Yeah.
You got kids.
Yep.
But Tom and Jerry, of where Tom used to be scared of the mouse, and he was like, dude, you're the cat. How are you scared of the mouse? And so that's the other thought. Some people look in the mirror and they are a lion, but they see this like meek cat. And so for Karl-Anthony Towns, I feel like sometimes he doesn't realize he's 6'10" and he's as big as he is, because he does, like, Joker doesn't move fast and try to whip and throw people. He just bangs and bangs and bangs and bangs. Like, he will just back you down until you guys decide to double him. I feel like Karl-Anthony Towns like bails out too quick sometimes. Like, he's always like trying to hit the one-legged fadeaway shot, or he's trying to, like, he's doing stuff that guys like Kevin Durant have to do because they're not strong enough to continue to back you under the basket. Like Shaq. Shaq would just back you down and then dunk on you. Giannis, he's just going to power bomb you into the rim. But then there's guys, like I said, like Chet Holmgren, like Wemby. They're looking for that jumper. They're looking for a little bit of space to just one-legged shoot it. What's the other guy for Dallas that played against Kevin Garnett? Dirk was not a power bang guy. He was a finesse guy. Karl-Anthony Towns should not be a finesse guy. It's great to have that in your bag, but I feel like he needs to bang guys a little bit more and just get down there. Like, he needs to be able to really just put his body in some guys and realize you're bigger than them. But and I say this because I know he also runs guys over. And then we're all like, what are you doing? He needs to be able to do it with control, because that's what Joker does. He does it with complete control. His body is like, his chest is over his knees are his toes, and he's just bent over and he's just backing up. Where Cat kind of gets like, his lean gets so far back, he bangs his whole body into somebody. And like Michael Grady said, sometimes Cat tries to squeeze in the spots that he's too big for. Like, he tries to spin off guys and he's double teamed. You're not that guy. Like, just keep banging. And then when they double you and you know you have to get rid of it, know where to go. And that's where Joker sets himself aside from everybody else. That's why he's the MVP, because he makes the right pass. Every time he's doubled, he makes the right pass. He knows that offense like the back of his hand. His guys line up in the right spot. Sometimes I feel like the Timberwolves' feet getting concrete when Cat gets the ball down low, because it's like imminent. They're like, oh, he's going to shoot this. Why am I going to move? Versus like, when Joker gets it, if you watch the Nuggets, everybody's moving somewhere new. Like, they're trying to relocate to catch. And I don't know if you saw the video clip of them saying, even though this is not true what happened, but they're saying Luka caught Anthony Edwards sleeping, because Anthony Edwards is guarding Kyrie. He then turns his back to the offense for a little bit because he's going to run to his spot. Luka quick just throws it to Kyrie, realizing nobody's on him. So now the second person in the corner has to run up and guard Kyrie because Anthony Edwards has dropped down too far. Then Anthony Edwards has to run out and try to guard PJ Washington. PJ Washington knocks down the corner three. I don't know if he caught Anthony Edwards sleeping, but I understand the sentiment in that. And that's what I'm saying with like guys like Cat. Like, how do you find a guy like Anthony Edwards to make sure he's in the right spot? Dallas, again, when Luka gets the ball, they move. They all find a spot because they're like, you know what? He's going to kick it out. He's a great passer. Kyrie, same thing. When he drives, they're finding a spot. So if you do double, if you do try to help, I'm open. And that's why PJ Washington has been so effective. I just feel like at some point that needs to become Karl-Anthony Towns. Like, he needs to be able to be a great passer. Forget being the best big man shooter. Become one of the best big man passers as well. Like, Jokic is a shooter. We know that. He doesn't have to tell us. He doesn't say it. We don't ask. But we also like, man, this dude can pass too. Like, he's a facilitator. He runs the offense. He brings the ball up the court, and he's not a great dribbler, but he's doing all this because he practices it. I don't know if Cat needs to watch some Joker like post plays, because we know like what Kobe went to Olajuwon, and Olajuwon taught him. Maybe Cat needs to go to Olajuwon and learn some post moves, because I know Gilbert Arenas joked about that and said, oh, I can't believe these guys is paying Olajuwon $50,000 for that. That's the move he's teaching them. That move works. That move won championships. How many championships do you have? You can't hate on somebody. I get to say like, oh, that worked in the 80s and 90s. It's not going to work now. Why? Why not? It can definitely work now. We see Joker do it all the time. Good basketball does not ever stop. It can continue on when you have the skill. So, I mean, we've gotten time to too close to the end of time to get to the daily 3 sale, but I mean, when you look at this possible change, I know you're saying run it back. I don't know if I'm 100% on board running it back, but is there anything that can happen tonight for you to then you say, maybe they do need to move on from Rudy or Cat?
Well, if the same thing happens, so they go 0 for 4 against Dallas, and if Cat is sluggish, lethargic for a 4th straight game, that's going to be the whole offseason. I mean, the whole offseason is going to be about, does Cat have it in the playoffs? Because remember, coming into these playoffs, Cat was much maligned for his playoff performances. And then he kind of eased the discussion a little bit. He had some really good games. The Game 7 against Denver, right? Where's that guy? That guy stepped up. Where's that guy? The moment wasn't too big then, so why is the moment too big now? but I don't think I'm going to change off of the run it back. I think that teams mess themselves up when they try to tinker too much. I mean, look, what if the Wolves had tinkered after last year? A lot of people wanted them to. They didn't,
Yeah.
and they were almost the number 1 seed. So I'm saying try again. Try to just keep giving yourself opportunities. Keep getting to the conference finals. Give yourself a chance to win a title. You've got a real gift here. You've got your top 7 guys all under contract next year, assuming you're assuming they'll pay the luxury tax. We don't really know how that's going to go yet with the ownership. If they pay the luxury tax, they've got the 7 guys back. So that's a great continuity that most teams don't have in the NBA.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, running it back isn't a bad thing, but at what point do you feel like, because like I said, Michael Jordan ended up getting Scottie Pippen, and that was the answer. Steph ended up getting Clay and Draymond. That became the answer. Because people forget the pre-Warrior Steph Curry teams were not great. Like when Steph first got there, it was not a success right away. Because I keep seeing, I saw that today too, of somebody saying like, what if? And of course the what if was what would the world be like if Steph had went to Minnesota? It still would have required Minnesota to have to go get Clay and Draymond, which they could have, because they would have had those same picks. Like we looked at the picks they had the next years and who they picked, and they could have easily went and got Steph, Clay, and then Draymond in the second round. But would they have done that? And I think that's always the question is, you can always do the what if, but it's always the butterfly effect of the rest of the stuff that actually helped these guys win. People talk about if was it Trailblazers, I think, got Sam Bowie instead of Michael Jordan. But would the Trailblazers have went out and gotten somebody to help Jordan like Scottie Pippen? Maybe Jordan would have just been the best in the West, but never actually won a championship. Like you can't always think, because to not give Scottie Pippen credit is blasphemy. And that's where this thing, and that's why I'm saying, like, for Anthony Edwards, we'll see. Like, if they can't get it done this year, we'll see what next year looks like, Sam, and we'll be right back to this again. Like, who has to go? I would not be mad at a Kevin Durant, Karl-Anthony Towns trade. I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. I get it. Who's going to take the last shot? I think Ant, when you look at Ant recently, who took the last shot in the last game? Was it Ant? Ant had the ball in his hand, but he didn't take the last shot. So
Nas.
Yep.
Imagine if that shot goes in, how differently we look at all of it.
We'd be feeling totally different. Nas was on fire to that point. He had hit 6 threes, I think, at that point, or something like that. He was 4 for 4 or 5 for 5 at one point. Yeah, it could have been totally different. But we got to move on to the Daily 3. We got 3 questions. We're going to spend about a minute each today, maybe 2 minutes, and we'll do all that right after a word from our sponsors. Well, I want everybody to know also, make sure you download Locked On Sports Minnesota on YouTube. And when I say download, it's follow. Now, you do have to download the YouTube app on your phone. But then once you download the YouTube app, you can follow every Twins, Vikings, Wild, and Wolves game with our Locked On team hosts. They're broadcasting live with team insiders. Never miss a podcast by subscribing to Locked On Sports on YouTube. And again, you just need an email address. Once you're on YouTube, when you hit subscribe, it's going to link you to your YouTube account on your phone, which is through your Apple or Google or whatever your device. But you're just download YouTube, and then when you get to YouTube, just subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota. It'll give you all of our shows all the time. But also remember too, Roku and Amazon Fire, you can download us there as well, and you can get all the shows right there on your TV as well as on whatever your travel device might be. Well, now it's time for the Daily 3. Take it away, Sam.
All right. We've got a Vikings rumor. This comes from Charlie Walters, Pioneer Press. Now, his batting average for publishing like hot take rumors, not sure it's that high, but he has written that the Vikings contemplated trading up in the draft for wide receiver Malik Neighbors, and that would have led to a Justin Jefferson trade. Do you believe this report whatsoever?
No, I don't. When people say contemplated, that to me just feels like a fishing expedition. When I hear contemplated, I also know that a lot of people contemplated trying to date Beyonce. People contemplated trying to date Jennifer Lopez when they heard she broke up with A-Rod, and now potentially might break up with Ben Affleck for the 6th time of her divorces. And people are joking about that. So there's a lot of contemplation going on. I don't think it happened. I don't. I think I think what might have happened is people reached out to them to trade Justin Jefferson because they were like, dude, you guys haven't signed him yet. What's going on? Like, are you guys, because that's what what good GM or smart GM wouldn't do that. Like, hey, what's going on, man? Y'all haven't given him an extension yet. Like, I mean, we see Tyreek out here with 30 mil. We see CD Lamb's waiting on his deal. We see guys, a lot of 30, Brandon Ayuk thinks he's a $30 million guy. T. Higgins thinks he's a $30 million guy. Just Jamar Chase definitely is a $30 million guy. Why haven't you guys given Justin Jefferson $30+ million a year yet? So I think that was the call that came in. I don't think it was them seeking anything. I think that maybe that was one of the calls. And they immediately probably said, nah. Or they said, like, what do you got? And then, of course, whatever team it was, maybe it was the team that could have given them, Malik Neighbors. But why would you take a bird in the hand, and you've heard this, is worth two in the bush? Like, why would you think you have the best receiver in the NFL in your hand? Why would you think going, because Stephon Diggs, let's be clear on this, because people keep bringing this up. Stephon Diggs, that worked out. Tyreek Hill, that worked. Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs were not the best receivers in the league when they were traded. They weren't. Stephon Diggs was really good, but was he the best in the league? No. He got paid. Now, he's deserved it, but it was a little bit emotional with the Minnesota Miracle. The Minneapolis Miracle, that was a Minneapolis Miracle $72 million signing. Like, was he worth it? We'll never really know. Has he made plays? Heck yes. Is he one of the best? Yes. But was he the best? No. Justin Jefferson, we can say he is the best in the NFL. You have the best. So why would you get rid of that potentially to then go get an unproven Neighbors just because he went to LSU and LSU has put out some great receivers? I just don't know if that was the answer there, but I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I'm just begging the Vikings to get it done so we can put an end to some of these silly rumors. The Vikings have been telling us for a year that it's all good. It's all good. We love Justin. We're going to get it done. We're having great dialogue with his camp. Okay, just get it done. Just please get it done. Get him in, put the hat on, get a picture of him at the little podium signing the contract so we can put all this to bed, because I think it's going to get done. And they've been telling us forever, and then they keep pushing the deadline. They keep pushing it back and pushing it back. I would like it to be done. Wouldn't you, Ron? Wouldn't it be nice to not have to talk about this?
Yeah, I'm kind of over it too. I wish it would get done, but unfortunately, he's not coming to OTAs. He may or may not report to training camp if it's not done. So we'll see. I do say if they go this like too far into this offseason without the deal done, then we're heading towards messy territory where it's going to get messy, and then every reporter is going to ask that question at every press conference, and it's going to get really like annoying. But what you got next?
Yeah, I know you said it's not going to be appointment viewing for you, but if it is Mavs Celtics in the finals, who you got?
I got Celtics. I just think the Celtics right now are a complete team. The way they play defense, Drew Holiday can guard Kyrie. I do know Kyrie is mad about the USA team, so I think he would have a little bit of extra oomph going up against Drew Holiday to show they because everybody's saying Drew Holiday got picked for his defense, and Kyrie's not known for that because Tyrese Halliburton is a scorer, but not – Tyrese Halliburton's hurt, so who knows if he can go to Paris? Like, I mean, his hamstring is hurt. Yeah. Do you then add what's his name? Do you add Kyrie to that now? But yeah, no, I got Celtics. I don't know who you got.
Someone told me that the Mavericks with this lineup since the trade deadline are like 25-5 since they got Washington and Gafford and everyone was healthy. So I'm going to go hot hand. I'm going to go Mavs with the way that Luka and Kyrie are finishing these games. I'm going to go upset. Mavericks.
Okay, we'll see.
Last one. This was stunning yesterday. Bill Walton died at the age of 71. Didn't know he had cancer. Seems like he was just on TV this season. But any people are flooding Twitter with their favorite Bill Walton memories. Any that you have?
Just that he was real, man. Like when you watch him on TV, he's the guy that showed me I can have fun. I can wear what I want to wear. Like I've worn like the Unreal hoodies in a suit jacket, just because I'm gonna do it and nobody else does it. Like I'm not getting on TV to just want to be like everybody else. And I think that's Bill Walton kind of showed me that, like, have fun with it. If you want to wear a funny t-shirt or change clothes or do whatever, make jokes with fans and do it, be yourself. And so I love that. Like he was super, like just real, or to the point sometimes you could hear like the gasp of his play-by-play guy. Like, you can't say that on TV, dude. Like, what are you doing? And so that's what I remember most. I remember like those moments where he would just say some stuff and you could tell his guy didn't know where to go. Like, okay, we're gonna move on to the next play. So yeah, that's some of the memories I have of him. What about you?
Yeah, same. Really, I didn't watch him as a player. I was too young, so really, I only
Same.
knew him as the broadcaster, and he was magnificent. No one like him. Kind of John Madden like a little bit from a basketball standpoint, right? He kind of felt like he had the fun and the communication skills, and he was just a personality all to his own. And yeah, that's a big loss. It was just stunning to me. I didn't know that this was impending at all, and to see that news, that was a shocker. So it's been really cool to see all the stories that have come out now about him and all the amazing things he did. What a guy! What a cool person.
Yeah, and that reminds people to always make sure you check on your people, man. Make sure you check on people because you never know what they're going through. And Bill Walton was one that didn't want the world to like have to like talk. He probably didn't want all the like hoopla and follow him around and ask him questions 24/7. I think he did it his way, and he's always been that guy. But I'm Ron Johnson. That's Sam. Actually, that to do it for us today on the Ron Johnson Show. Make sure you guys tune in next week. But make sure you find Locked On Sports Minnesota 24/7 on the YouTube live stream for your favorite Minnesota shows around the clock. It's Vikings, Wild Wolves, Twins, and Gophers at all hours of the day. And hopefully tomorrow on the basketball party, it's not a funeral. But if it is, I'm going to come dressed up, ready to put the Timberwolves to bed. Let's time bury them. Let's bury them for the year and move on to football. But we're definitely going to keep talking about the Timberwolves as the season goes. And hopefully, some offseason moves and maybe help out Anthony Edwards. But again, have a great week, people.